Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing component video for Thunder Road Vendetta. This is a racing car dueling game, I guess. It says made by Restoration Games, so I believe this is probably based on I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's based on an old version of the game that they redid, or at least a similar thing, which is usually what they do. So, just to start off right away, this is going to be a two-parter video. The first part is I'm going to go through, like a quick, just kind of look through all the different tokens and components and stuff, then explain the rules and how the game's played, kind of go through what is in the base game. Then the second video, I will go through the stuff that would be in the expansion packs. There are 3 major expansions and then 2 minor expansions. And here, actually, if I grab this sheet here, this is the back thing, so it's going to show. So we have our base game, which is going to have tracks, in your base cars, and your things you're going to play as all your dice, your main components. The couple of the expansions, we have the Big Rig, which adds 2 different types of vehicles you can play as instead of cars. Carnage at Devil's Run, which adds some more maps to play on. And the Chop Shop, which adds some crew members to play. It just adds a different extra mechanic to the game. Then the minor ones are, we have the extra ammo one, which, so I got this through Kickstarter. So these came free with the Kickstarter, so I'm assuming they're eventually going to, they will release these as a separate thing. Nothing was listed on the Kickstarter as being exclusive, which is very nice, with the minor exception of this crew leader and this German engineering expansion, which is the second, minor expansion. And I only call that because those are exclusive to the Maximum Chrome box, or edition. Now, this box, again, wasn't listed as necessarily being, exclusive, like Kickstarter exclusive, so they might release this this might not hit retail itself, but it might hit board game shops, or game stores, or like their website. If you pick it up, it's all the content in one box, and if you buy it this way, you get the extra little expansion and that. So we'll talk about all of those expansions in the second thing. We just kind of want to focus on what is actually in the game to begin with and how to play it. So when you first buy this, though, it's kind of neat because you have the box that's like this, and then you have this stack of tiles, which actually came wrapped underneath the box, which I thought was very interesting. Because typically, anytime I've ever bought a game, they put everything in the box, and all the tiles of them. You pop all the tiles and the tokens out, and you put them in the box. But then there's also that to leave like a giant gap in there for that. Then when you get done moving all the tiles up, they put the extra pieces underneath to raise all your inserts up. Which is like, okay, it kind of makes sense, or you have a gap in there. If there's only like 1 or 2 tiles, it's not really a big deal. But something like this, you'd have such a giant gap in there. Or if you throw these tiles on the bottom, it would still make the box way extra heavy. So it's kind of neat that they did it this way, so you can just go ahead and toss them out. I do actually want to pop open the box here before we look through all these tiles. So I don't know if they will sell this box separate. Because it holds all the components for all the expansions. So like you bought this, you get everything together. I don't know if they'll sell this empty. So that way if you bought the base game and picked up one expansion, you could put it in there and then slowly build your collection over time. That would definitely be a cool thing to do. So yeah, we have a bunch of trays in here. Our first tray. And I will show a video in the second video after we've unlocked everything. So if you want to see how this unlocked everything, opened everything, went through it all, if you want to see how everything fits in there, we'll look over that in the second video. But yeah, here's all your different vehicles. They are right in the main thing. And they sit up there. We'll have some different components that go up there. Most likely it's going to be stuff that goes towards each set. Then we get a second one, which again have just more things for all your different tiles, tokens, things like that. The third tray, trying to see if I can zoom this out a bit more. So it came with this. It has a bunch of your little mini cards, your other different card expansions, all your dice. Now, these do come wrapped when you buy it. I just unwrapped them all, so that way when I start doing this video, I have to stop and unwrap them all. But yeah, they will come wrapped up in there. And you get all the different dice, and they're just sitting in here. Now, I think they're just sitting in here for the sake of storage. I'm assuming they're going to have different spots and different things. Lots of the different inserts show like a symbol to kind of give you an idea of what to put in there. That mainly might be the only downside to this entire thing is they don't have anything to explain necessarily where everything goes. So I kind of got to figure that out myself. There is a video you can go from the Kickstarter to find out. I think someone does an unbox, like a reverse unboxing. Like everything's in there, here's where everything goes. But nothing came with the game. And then the final one, which I missed the first time around. I didn't realize there was another set in there. So I thought I was missing pieces. So just kind of keep in mind with that. And then these are your crew pieces, and some extra tiles and stuff. Alright, so before we get into the rules, we are going to just do a quick flip through of all these different tiles, just so we can kind of see what we're getting up on. So, let's scoot these guys out of the way. So, like, the first set of tiles, we're going to have some extra road terrain tiles. We're going to have, the big boards up here for different vehicles. So there's going to be one for each color. This red one's actually for the big rig. We have some damage tokens. And I actually have a piece here that flips out, which will have the motorbikes. So, like, lots of this, though, it's kind of neat, because this is separated off this way, as this is for this expansion. And that's kind of the same thing, I think, with this one. Whoops. This is my one concern about this. I'm going to start popping these tiles out by accident. So yeah, here we have some more, and this is for another one of the expansions, or more, some damage tiles, some fire tiles, some different terrain, and we'll go over what all of these mean as we talk about each expansion. So here's some of the stuff for your different cars. Orange car, gray or white car, some different tokens. These tokens are pretty big, which is really nice. There's some information on the back. The blue and green cars, so here are 4 different colors. We have a bunch of tokens on there. This is going to add your finish line, a bunch more damage tokens. As your cars take damage, different things can happen. Some more terrain tiles, which is kind of fun. You can like change up how the terrain is. Then we have a lot of our tiles here for our map. This is how the cars go. They move along these different paths. And then they are listed by chapters. You can play them in order. Or you can mix them up. You can set up various like scenarios. Now, nothing like that comes in the rulebook to tell you which order to play them in. There might be something on their website with that. I don't remember. I'll look into that when we get later. But they flip each one over. They're double-sided. So the only one that is a different indication is Chapter 1, whether it's A or B. It's supposed to be your starting tile because it lists how many different things you put on versus how many players you're playing. But yeah, we're going to get a bunch of different ones, different shapes, different tokens on there. And we'll look at these a little bit more in depth when I actually get into the unboxing. But they're at lots of different shapes. And the idea is you draw these randomly, so you don't know which one's going to come next. And then as the map, as you go farther in the map, it flips and you draw a new tile and it goes on the end, so you get more. Then we have some of the expansion ones, which adds some new different tiles, some ramps, different hazards. So some salts there for the salty dog leg. Some like Rex thing you can run into. Yeah, it just adds, so the expansions will definitely be worth picking up if you enjoy the game, because they're going to add some extra elements to the game, like I'm just on fire. And then there's the last one. Alright, so then we want to get into how does the game play. So I'm going to pause for a second, kind of set up the boards, and we'll take... Alright, so here we have the rule book for Maximum Chrome, which is, again, the all-everything thing. And it goes through every expansion, and if there's a rule it's talking about doing one thing, it mentions the expansions when they come up. So I'm going to kind of just... It's a really good guide. So it's a good... table of contents, which tells you right where to go for stuff. Separates the expansions out a little bit more. shows what's in your base game, all our different components, all that type of fun stuff. And then we start getting through it. It says how to set up the game. Setting up is pretty easy. You place the tile 1, which is your reader tile. Then you set up 2 other tiles which are random. So in this setup, they have set Chapter 5B and Chapter 3A. So they're going to be very random, so you're going to not always play the exact same track over and over. You could opt to potentially start with a different tile if you wanted to, but I think for the sake of being, I'd probably just start with that one. Shows how to lay all your different stuff down. Each player has their boards, have dice set up. It's fairly simple. It goes pretty quick. Then it goes through, so here's the big rig, final 5. Kind of get doubles running. And Chop Shop, what to do with all them, how to set all them up as well. You'll look over in the second video. So your vehicles, you're going to have 4 different vehicles in the game. A command board, car status. I'm not going to sit here and directly read through all this. I'm going to kind of just go a minor overview of all this. But taking advantage. And then they have like Cruise, which is one of the other expansions. Terrain, what different terrain means. We'll look at that a little bit closer. As well as obstacles and hazards. And then actually how to play. So that's where I kind of want to jump into this. So how to play is the game is set up when each player has 3 turns during 4 rounds. Has 3 turns per round. So each player gets to do something, then the next player goes, then it comes back to them, they get their second, then they get their third, then the round ends, then everything kind of refreshes. So at the start of the round, all players roll all of their movement dice. On the first round, the dice usually rolling during setup to determine first player, so before you even begin the game, you roll your dice right away. So let's go. So on your turn, you have 4 things you have to do. Assign 1 guy to an operable vehicle, 2 activate a command once per round. So you get 3 turns, but you can only do this once per round. Move to shoot a road vehicle. Move your character. Or then shoot if you can. So, kind of look at this. This is what we have set up. So here's our board. I just put out 2 tiles. I put Chapter 1, Chapter 2 next to each other. So when we're first setting up the game for the board-wise, we have all these different hazard spots. And then we have a pile of hazards. And as you buy the expansions, you get more different hazards you can include. So you do is you put them on the board. Some of these have different numbers on them. So there are more players, you'll add more. But we're only playing, say we're playing a 2-player game, so I'll put these on the 2 to 3 player spots, or the 2-player spots. Then what you do is, every time you add a new tile, you drop them on all those as well. So these are all things we want to potentially avoid. And that sets that up. Then down here, sorry my camera's not the best at seeing all of this. We have our 4 pieces for our cars. Let's just move those out of the way. So you kind of line them up like this. You have a command board. You're going to say, for your cars, there's different extra things you can do. It is double-sided, but each side has the exact same thing, so it doesn't matter. And then you have a track for your small car, your medium car, and the large car. Now, what is also really unique about this game is you have little like indents in here set up for various things, but you can put these in different orders if you like to have your large car first. Oh, I was going to say you can do that, but I guess you can't. You have to put them in this order. As I said, I think you could do it the other way, but you could put this on the other side if you wanted to, because it does have a dent over there, so it might work whichever way you want. And I'm not going to get into what that does, but if we look at this, for the moment, it says small Doom Buggy. So it's going to have a targeting range. So this is what it, for getting shot at and stuff, that's what it does. It has your speed dial, so you can put any number of die there. End of your turn, you move it down to show that this vehicle has been used. And there's the ability to coast as well. So if you have already played all your dice or you can't use anymore, you could coast with your cars. And then each vehicle is going to have the same idea. I like that their speedometer gets bigger for each one. And then their things. So we have the medium Avenger and the large Eliminator. So if we actually look at those quick, here's our little tiny Doom Buggy. Now, these have like a special wash on them. I know some people like that, some people didn't. Makes them look a little more gritty and off-road. They're actually fairly detailed, though. Hollow on the bottom. There's our medium one. And they're going to come into 4 different colors, and then the large one. So all four of them are the exact same model, just different colors. So like if I hold up the orange one, it's the same. They do have another unique feature of being able to stack on top of each other, and this actually plays a role in the game. Sometimes you move in the same spot as another car. So if my car's driving and it moves over into this spot, it will now then stack on top of it, and then you have to do a slam result, which we'll look at when we get to that part of the rule. And then what you do is each player gets 4 dice, which are their movement dice. Then we have 5 other dice that are sitting out to begin with. So just a quick one we go through. Here's our road dice. This has to deal with getting extra movement during the turn if you stay on road tracks. We have the slam and the direction dice, which generally work together. So if a car is stacked on top of each other, it will say if it's the bottom car or the top car that gets moved and what direction it goes. So you can slam someone in a different direction, or you might just slam by yourself. If we are shooting things, it will show what size we're targeting. So again, we're using little symbols. We have the little 1 or the 2. We have an any. We have a big one for the large. And that's just, again, matches the symbols, makes it really easy to figure out. And then we do have a stunt die for certain other game effects that lets you move a little bit faster. So this is the one that's used every round. It's rolled during the beginning of the round. Then the other ones are used as needed. So then how you start your turn is you'll roll all your dice. So I actually did probably a very terrible roll. I got a 5, a 1, a 1, and a 2. So as an example, let's just say I have my cars on here. Let's throw some opponent cars on here just for the sake of it. Or like in the middle of the map. So obviously these things probably would, they all could have been avoided and not activated. It's very possible. But what I do is during my turn, I have to assign 1 die for a vehicle. So I get to decide which vehicle I want to start. Now, you don't have to go small, medium, then large, or in any order. Kind of depend on what you want to do and what you think you can do for that turn. Like, maybe I want to look at this guy's maybe towards the end of the map. I need to move him quicker. Or this guy, if he tries to move too many, he might run into one of them if I don't move enough. But you also need to decide what you want to do. So, like, I have the 2 dice, which will let me move 2 spaces. So there's that thing, is if I move him 2 spaces, he's going to go 1, 2, or 1, 2. So he's going to have to move, or 1, 2. He's going to have to move onto one of the other characters. I could use it to try and slam these guys out of the way, or I could move it into my guy and slam my guy a direction too if I wanted to. That might not be worth it. Same idea as this guy's going to I could just go up 2 with him. The only risk there is it puts me right next to this object. If I run into that, I could actually get eliminated. Or I could just take my chances with my small car. But the thing is, moving in front of either of these might end up. But I do also have a 1 movement, and I have a 5 movement. So I have a bunch of different options. So let's say, just for example, I take my 2, I want to put them on there. Now, what I do is, that's your assigning action. I get to assign my dice wherever I want. You also have, because you have 4 dice, you have 3 rounds. You'll always have 1 die left over. What you can do then is you can always, at one point during one of your 3 turns, you can assign it to one of your things to give yourself an extra ability or a command. And when you do, then you activate that the second thing. So you only get to use it once. You have to use it very restrictively. But some of them will have numbers on there. So if I want to do an airstrike, which lets me move my chopper around, which is your 4th vehicle, which has extra different rules, I'll go over in a little bit. You can spend any dice. So this 1's not helpful. I could get rid of my 1 and put it on there. I could use nitro, which gains movement value equal to the die, but it has to be 1 to 3. So again, if my 1's maybe not very useful, I could put my 1 on there, and just sacrifice it to move 1 extra space. But I couldn't put my 5 on there. Like drift, ignore the first slam your car would have this turn. So now, this could be very good with a 3 to 5 if I put this on, if I put it on him, it would have been nice, because what it means is instead of hitting, as soon as you cross these guys, you do a slam action. I could, if I had enough movement, get by one of these guys. So I could use it with my small goon buggy. I could put my 5 on there, which then lets me go like this. 1, 2 spaces, and I could get by him without slamming through him, which would be very helpful. I could get a little bit farther. And then finally, we have repair. Remove 1 damage from all your cars. Your cars take too much damage, they're eliminated. And to kind of show that, you can get stuff like this, which can make your car inoperable, and then it will eventually get eliminated. And I'll get into that rule in just a minute. But yeah, that's how your 4 dice work. So on like the first turn, I do that round, I move it down there. My second round, I can decide to put it on my large rig, but after the second turn, everybody else is moved, so I might have different options. Then the third time, I could do this. Now, if I have 1 dice left over, or if for some reason one of my other cars has been eliminated and I have extra dice, you can always put something on the coast, which will let your character coast 1 extra space, or how many number that dice is, which gets them a little bit of extra movement. But you can't use that and a command at the same time. So it's a neat idea. Alright, yeah, so we go over the command effects. They're all 4 are the same for each character. So every car has the same exact stats. There's nothing different there. So step 3 then is move. After you've done your command action, which I always do first, like that nitro action, which will move my car, will move me before I do it. My drift action, if I put that 5 on there, it will let me move 5 spaces before I move my extra dice. Alright, and then it says, so movement says, gains move equal to its movement, guys. Must always move into one of the 3 spaces in the front. So we have a front arc here, so you always have to move into one of the 3 spaces. Which can usually avoid things pretty quick, because you have pretty tight turning to the next one. Then we do have this road guy. It's only rolled by the first player at the start of the round, and it stays there for the entire round. On each player's turn after moving, if the road vehicle started on and moved onto only road spaces, that vehicle may immediately gain or move that number of road dice. So what that means is the gray spaces are road spaces. So if I had rolled my dice and I got a 2, and my small car had moved 2 spaces, so he moved 1, 2, I would now get an additional 2 move actions if I wanted to use the road dice. It is optional. I do not have to. But if I choose to, I have to use all 2. So my options there would be 1, 2, or 1... well, I could go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, I can't move on to this space because it's a hazard, and I haven't mentioned those too much. So you can't move on to that. I could always go 1, 2, and move on to this space and see what that does, but it's probably not my best idea. But you only get to activate the road dice if you started on one of those tiles, but it doesn't matter if I move off onto it. So, for example, is if I was using my medium car and I moved 2 spaces. So 1, 2, I wouldn't get to use the road dice because I'm not on a road space. Or if I did the same thing with my large one and I moved 1, 2 over here, I wouldn't get to because I moved off onto another space. It doesn't matter if you move, even if you did 1, 2 like that, he still wouldn't get it because he moved off the road at one point. So if you stay on the road, you can utilize this to go a little bit faster, which is a neat mechanic. And there's a 1, 2, and 3 side on there. Very easy to figure out. Alright, then we have slamming. So that's the next effect of part of moving. So it says, if 2 road vehicles are ever stacked in the same space, they slam into each other. Then you roll the dice. So that's fairly easy to figure out. So this would be if I have my big car and I moved him here, I would roll my slam dice and my movement dice. So I would roll these, and I'm going to get the bottom car is going to move, and then you look at which way the arrows are pointing to match the board. He's going to move 1 space forward. So what it does here is now I slammed this guy. So the idea is saying, I crashed into him and I pushed him forward. Now, yeah, it doesn't really hurt me too much, but what could happen is you could push a guy into a hazard, you could push him into an obstacle, push him off the road, various different things. Now, there's special rules for the big rig and the motorcycles with that, which we'll go over when we get there. So then, here's the nice thing about the Slam, guys. I love that they show this, the dice sides for these. So we have 2 for top and 4 for the bottom. So more often than not, the bottom vehicle, you moving into someone is going to knock them away. And then there's the direction dice. There's 1 for each side. Now there is a special rule for slamming in, guys. If one vehicle slams is larger, the owner of the larger vehicle may ask for a single reroll of both dice. This is true even if the larger vehicle is inoperable or both vehicles are owned by the same player. So what that means is, if this guy moved up on top of him, I rolled my slam dice, and I was going to say, I'm going to move the bottom one back 1 die. So I'm going to move the orange one there and keep my buggy there. The bigger car can be like, no, I don't want to move back. Like, I don't like that. My car's bigger. It's going to hit you harder. So they could be like, all right, so then we do is we reroll both dice. Instead, now, the top one gets to move 1 space backwards. So they actually shoved him back. So basically, that's saying my car went like this, bumped into him, and got knocked back. Versus my first roll, it was saying he hit him here, and it somehow slammed him back that direction. Like maybe he cut him across in the front, he had to swerve out of the way. So that's kind of a neat idea. But it doesn't work like if they're the same size. And it's always the bigger car gets to decide. But you're still random results. Then the last thing you do on your turn is you shoot. So road vehicle you move or the chopper you place may shoot according to these rules. You can shoot a vehicle in the front arc of your vehicle, or the chopper, some 3 spaces in front of you. A big rig has different rules, as we can see there. If you have more than 1 target, choose ones. You may not shoot choppers. You may shoot wrecks. You may shoot after resolving a slam, and you may shoot your own cars or motorcycles. There could be advantages to that for whatever reason. So shoot, choose a target, shoot the dice, match the dice size. So how that works then is, if my big blue car's here, he's going to shoot that car. I roll my die, and he shoots for a large one. So it says, if the die matches the size of the vehicle he gets shot at, he takes a damage token. Now if I rolled it, let's say I roll again. I rolled a second large. Okay, I rolled a medium. He didn't hit because he was trying to hit a medium vehicle. So yeah, the shooting mechanic is neat, but it's not like you're going to do damage every single turn. It is kind of random. And then you take a damage token, and we'll see how those work in just a minute. So the last part of the game effects are moving off the front of the board. So once one vehicle moves off the front of the board, all the vehicles on that tile are on the last tile are now eliminated, and all the tokens go away. They get put back in the piles, and then you add the new board. So the next board becomes the last board becomes the new middle or the new middle board, and then the first one. So what that's saying is, if one of my guys moved off of this board, the third tile I had would go away. So if anyone's lagging way too far behind, that tile disappears. Then this becomes the final tile. This becomes the second tile. That becomes the third tile. It's always 3 at a time. Which makes the game interesting because it's like you gotta keep moving your guys, but you don't want to focus on just getting one of your guys too far ahead, because they'll eventually eliminate all the rest of your team as well. Yeah, it's like right now these guys are at the beginning of this tile, so if we add another tile, it's not too bad. But if also you just kept having one vehicle that was way up in the front, and you kept assigning him just 6s, you might eliminate. I guess if you could say, hey, I can eliminate half the other player's team that way, but I have to sacrifice one of my vehicles. Maybe that's a goal you want to do. But, it's kind of risky to do as well, I guess. Because then someone could... Because one of the big reasons you can move that helicopter around and shoot people as well. And it says how the game ends. So if there's 2 players, if one player isn't eliminated beforehand, the 5th and final tile. So you only play for 5 tiles. If there are 3 or more players, when one player is out of the game, so all their vehicles are destroyed either by falling off the edge, taking too much damage, getting knocked off the side of the board, running into things. Different ways we'll kind of go over. This occurs, then you add the finish, you make 1 new tile and you add the finish line, and then whoever gets their wins. Alright, so at the end of the turn, slide the movement dice on the dashboard from your car to the end of turn space. That vehicle will not be signing other dice, but it could coast. Any vehicle in a space with a chopper are eliminated. So a chopper can shoot around the board, but if it's you're underneath it, it's automatically eliminated, including your vehicles. And then the end of round, each player is taking 3 turns. Pass the road guide to the next player on your left. They'll be the first player for the next round. So that's the basics of the game. It's fairly straightforward. You roll your dice, you get a move. You gotta kind of decide where to spend your dice, what to do, and some different things there. Then the next part of the instructions go over the big rigs, the motorcycles, and some of the other cards and things like that. So the other thing we want to then look at, that we kind of skipped over before, were terrain and obstacles and damage and hazards. So here is car status. I'm going to look at that quick. Cars with no damage tokens or 1 damage are operable. You become inoperable after you receive its 2nd token. So we have these little damage tokens. After you take a damage, you do whatever its effect is on the other side, which we'll look at in a sec. Then you put the token there. They get a 2nd one. Then the car flips over. You can no longer use it until you do a repair action, which repairs are one of your commands. It says remove 1 damage from your car. So as soon as you do that, you can flip it back over and use it. So it's a neat little mechanic there. Inoperable cars cannot take additional damage. It would be ignored. Cannot be assigned movement, dice, or shoot, but can still be affected by the FX dice, such as being slammed. So someone can still slam into your car if it's inoperable. Now, if my small car became inoperable, like this, you turn it the other direction, and that's so that you know visually which one is not working. Being eliminated is different than taking damage or becoming inoperable. A car is eliminated, is removed from the game, cannot be repaired. Shuffle that car's damage tokens back in. So, how it's eliminated, if it enters an impassable space, turn ends on the same space as any chopper, is in the rear tile once removed, loses from leaving any of the other sides, or encounters effect. If all the cars are eliminated, you are out of the game. So, the different ways your car can lose is, we'll take the big one, if you get pushed off the back, if you get pushed off the sides. So, if, like, I'm here, this guy comes over here, slams me, and it pushes me up forward, off to the left here, I'm eliminated. I'm off the track. So that's why hugging the sides isn't always the best idea. So you look at this map up here, there's a bunch of junk here, a bunch of hazards. That side probably looks the safest. But if too many characters go on it, you have to worry about someone possibly knocking you off the road. We do have impassable objects like these. So your character crashes into that. It's crashing into a house or something that it can't drive through. So essentially it does is it destroys your car. It's like running into a giant rock, for example. So that's a different way to get removed as well. And then, of course, there's the choppers, which I haven't really shown, but that's one of our actions, is you can use any die, so just place a chopper on an empty space and shoot with it. So you can't place it on the space of a car, but I could place it here and I could shoot this car. Now, again, if my car came up here, did 2, rolled for a slam attack, slammed it this direction, happened to slam it underneath this chopper. At the end of the round, if that car didn't move, or maybe it already acted, so it can't move again unless someone can play the coaster dice. Maybe it can't because it spent that. So if it can't move, at the end of the round, I automatically eliminate it. Now, it's a neat effect. I don't think it's going to happen super well all the time because slamming guys is, it's your roll of a die. You don't really have an option. But if you have a bigger vehicle, at least maybe you might have the option to be like, I can re-roll that. Or I don't like that effect and try something else. Or again, if you save your coasts or like that, you can play that later if your car's already moved, so that could help you out. Maybe using your command ability on the first turn isn't the best option because you might need that ability later on. But then again, it might depend on what you're doing. You might need to repair right away, so you don't have to worry about something, or drifting or doing a nitro might make more sense right off the bat. That's what makes the game interesting, depending on when to use them guys for when they're going to be the most effective. Alright, so that's all those things. Then we had taking damage. So cars take damage from certain hazards or getting shot. When your car takes damage, choose a random damage token from the pile, flip it over, resolve its effects, then place the damage. So if my small car got damaged, I have the skid effect. I would do the skid effect, which just by looking at it, looks like it moves me one space forward, and then I would flip it over. If I had gotten the shrapnel, this has you, it's kind of the dice for first of it. So you use the purple dice, so your direction dice, and then it does a hazard that direction. And there's a sheet in here that will explain those a little bit more, which we'll actually get into. Let's look at, if I can find it. It's on the backside. Damage tokens. So some of these are for the expansions and some aren't. So these ones are the expansion ones. But we have some different ones. We have Dent. Let me see if I can find them here. We have Dent. Doesn't have anything special on it. Doesn't do anything special. We have Shrapnel, which we looked at before. It says roll the direction guys start the car that took damage. Apply that direction in a straight line until you reach your first road vehicle. Apply that damage. So let's move this out of the way. Let's assume my blue car is back here. And we have a couple different vehicles there. So I'm going to do is roll this guy for my shrapnel. I rolled, goes backwards. So that's not going to affect anything. Let's try again. Okay, here, so we got, again, backwards. Can I get one that goes forward a direction? No, I'm going to only roll backwards. Alright, so there we got one that's going to go forward down to the left side. So what it does is it's going to shoot a piece of shrapnel down here. Didn't hit anybody. Now, if I had gotten the straight die, this one, it's going to throw a piece of shrapnel up into him. So now, although I have my shrapnel token, I still place it and I still take the damage. But now that guy then draws his own one, and let's say he drew skid. So now then he has to now apply the skid effect. So it's kind of been interesting that you got hit with something, someone shot you, or whatever. And then now you have to shoot a piece off the fluff. There are minor damage tokens which are like X's instead of the big ones. I didn't grab any of those yet. Don't do anything. They just take up a slot, so they don't have any extra effect. You don't have to worry, but they're assigned from different things. Some of the tokens will move stuff. We also looked at, we have Skid, moves one space in the direction shown. We have Blast Off. So roll the direction guys and the stunt guy. You move that many spaces indicated in the direction going all spaces between you. So if we grabbed, do I even have one in this pile? Yes, we have a Blast Off here. So it's going to show purple guys, green guy. So if I grab one of them with my small car, I would roll my 2 dice. I will move forward 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which puts me on a damage or a hazard tile. So yeah, that didn't really help me out, and I still take that point of damage. The other one we have is Dazed, which is very similar looking, except it's the other direction. You roll your speed times the direction. So how that works, it says roll the stunt guy, move your car that many spaces, roll in the direction guys for each space of movement. So this is like a spin out, essentially. So let's say I'm using my blue car, and I rolled a 4. So now I have to roll my dice. I'm going to move 1 space down, 1 space back, which will then put me right on top of this. So there might be So there's actually a conflicting thing there. So I'd actually have slammed into that guy, so I don't have to roll any more cards. Now I do a slamming attack. But if I had, I would then roll again. So maybe he moved. Let's say if that car wasn't there, then I would have moved back up here, and my fourth dice would have moved me right there. So my guy literally did almost like a circle. He just spun out in a big giant circle, which is kind of funny and interesting. Now, if we had done this and we landed on this, now immediately I enter into the slam. As soon as you run into someone, you slam into them. Then we roll our slam dice. So my top car now moves back one space. So that's kind of funny. So it's like if I drew that dazed attack, right? Or I ran a dazed damage, something shot me, I hit it. My car went like this. I just slammed into this guy, moved back, and I still took a point of damage. So I got nowhere from it. But weirdly enough, it didn't do anything. And then there's some other ones we'll go in the other book. Alright, so that's all our different, currently all of our different damage tokens. Again, so there's more. The last thing we want to go over for the base game are hazards. Hazards and road terrain. So the basic terrain is we have blacktop gray spots, which are road spaces. Which is what all these guys. And then we have the off-road spaces, which cost one move to enter. So it's one for every space. Makes sense. We have muddy spaces. Cost 2 to move to enter. You may still enter a muddy space if you only have one move left. So these are muddy spaces. So it would be, so if I was sitting here and I had 4 move, it would be 1, 2, 3, and I could spend 4 to stick in that spot if I had to. But yeah, if you want to move straight through them, like you're trying to drive on the safe spot, do I spend 1, 2, 3, 4, or do I try and go 1, 2, 3, 4? It might depend on who else is around and things like that. Impassable objects is an obstacle. Is an obstacle. Spaces have different illustrations, but all have yellow border marks. So, like, we have some houses here. Some of the other tiles have different pictures, like up there in the top corner, we have a rock. So different ones like that. And then there's hazard spaces. Double red triangle shows where you place a hazard. Only when a new road tile is added. If there's a hazard totally anchored in a space, treat it as if there is no symbol. So if you've activated it, then you don't have to do it a second time. And if we look at our obstacles, obstacles are road vehicles, choppers, hazard tokens, face up or face down. Impassable spaces, spaces without obstacles are empty spaces. So, it says place your helicopter on empty space. I can place him on any open area, but I can't place him on a building here. I can't place him on a hazard token at all. It says face up, or some of them stay on the board, so they're face up. Yes, I can't have him go sit on the house and hide. He has to be on an open area. Occupied space is a space with a road vehicle. If your road vehicle enters a space from the other vehicle, it loses its remaining spaces. Stack them on top, resolve a slam. Chopper. You may pass through a space with a chopper without effect. However, if a road vehicle ends its turn on them, it is eliminated. So yeah, you can drive underneath it. Drive here, then drive here. But you stop under it, it's bad. So it's like getting close to your own choppers could be bad if someone's behind you and has a possible chance to slam you. Face down hazards. If a road vehicle moves onto a face down, flip it up. If it's face hazard, you already know what it does, you just activate it. And then impassable spaces are eliminated if they enter it. Then we do have wrecks. So wrecks are burned out vehicles from previous races and treated like inoperable small cars. They are slammed by another road vehicle, enters a space, resolve the hazard if they enter a space, and are eliminated if they enter the same space as target. So we do have, if I can pick this guy up, we have little burnt out husks, which could be on the board. So then your guy might get into it. They could line up on top of it. They could then slam it into another guy, which then could cause that guy to get slammed again and do some chain reactions. Or knock the guy into a hazard, or you could flip it into the spot, activate that hazard, and then that way it might be sitting on the board, or it might get him out of their way. So different things there. Alright, then we have a bunch of different hazards and things on the board. So, again, we have these things over here, which are for an expansion, which I'm not going to go over right now. We're just going to look at the different hazards that are currently on there. So we have discard after resolving wreck. Place a wreck figure on the space. Placing the moving rogue vehicle on top of the wreck and resolve a slam. Or a mine. The rogue vehicle takes damage. Resolve the effect if any of that vehicle loses any moves. Or it could change the terrain into a road space, a mud space, or an oil slick. Roll the direction die and move your vehicle one space that direction is not cost a move, and the vehicle continues moving as it has remained. So it kind of just slips on the tile. So, like right now, our blue small car has landed on a hazard space. He would immediately activate it. It was just a road space. No big deal. So he could keep moving if he had extra turns. So here we have a road tile. I probably didn't shuffle here. There's an oil slick tile. Different oil slick. And there's a muddy terrain one. So the base game only has those couple. Some of the other ones will add, more different tiles in there. So yeah, the base game's just fairly simple in itself. The expansions, as we'll see in the next video, will add a decent amount of extra content. I believe that was all we had for the base game. Except for, we didn't look at the other two hazard tiles. We have the mines, which are right there, which we didn't look at. And then we had, if I can find the other ones, we do have some of the minor damage, just little X's instead. And then the last two, I guess, where we have the wreck tokens. Just place those guys down. You do have a finish line as well. It's just double-sided, so you can decide what kind of finish line you want on your boards. You put that at the very end. When you get to that point, like you're playing two players, it's on when the fifth tile, you drop down the fifth tile so you know it's done. Or vice versa. And then just to kind of just re-show off like our different our boards here, we have like the gray and orange ones. Same exact effects on both boards. We look at the orange ones, so we still have Airstrike, Nitro, Drift Repair. They're always going to be the same thing in the same exact spots. So every vehicle set, everyone starts off with the same exact thing. So yeah, I forgot to actually show off the tiles, which, are since they're the board of the game, they play a lot of big difference. So we have Chapter 1, the parking lot. Lots of road terrain, couple of muddy spots, nothing too bad, few hazards here and there. We flip it over, we have Part B, the runway to ruin. So more of just like one straight road with a bunch of disasters, or you can try and go off on the other sides. Again, the road guys might get you through these a little bit quicker, but the problem is you're going to hit any of these hazards along the way, no matter what. So it's like, do you risk those hazards, or do you try and go all the way around? Because you have to stop on each hazard, but if you're coming up from behind and someone's already activated these, you could zip through them all very quickly. So that's kind of a fun one there. Chapter 2, we had Snake Way. So here, yeah, we get another wraparound. But again, you're going to have to hit these hazards if you want to go through. We have some impassable objects, some mud holes, just some different designs there. Then we have the unrest stop, which we saw earlier. Lots of different hazards down here on the houses, or impassable objects, rather. We have tile number 3. I have these backwards, of course. Alright, 3A here is the mud hole. This one's kind of fun. You have to go, so instead of going through the center, now you have to go around. But if you could get through the first one, you could kind of sneak around and then just take the extra there, which might be cheaper than going all the way around. So just to go that path would be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get all the way across. Versus if you're like up here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to get to that tile. So it's one cheaper, but you have to go through a hazard regardless. So again, different ideas. Then we have the bunker. So this has a giant impassable object right in the middle, so you have to go all the way around. Again, you're going to hit hazards, which I think part of that whole idea of the hazards is so that because you hit them, you have to do it to stop and do stuff. So they're going to make you have to slow the game down a little bit. It also makes the game more dramatic. We have the bearings. This is pretty straightforward. Just straight road, not too much. Some muds. Then the flip side, we have the scenic route. So this could be a cluster. Because everyone has to almost take them. You can get up here, you could sneak around these rocks by yourself, or even sneak around this way if you have enough movement to get through there. But yeah, otherwise you're kind of clustered in the middle if too many guys are going. And then the fifth tile are Route 66. Big famous roads. Yeah. Just go around. Not too much super big variation, but but again, you don't want a ton of weird, just single paths because it makes it too hard to get through. Plus, you have too many guys crashing, so they had to have some of this stuff. And then we have the choke, which is, again, you have to go right through the middle. You're gonna hit hazards. You could potentially avoid hazards if you got up like this. You could go around through these mud, but sometimes, again, maybe getting there, you can ram someone into another one. Plus, there's the rocks you can knock people into, so this becomes very treacherous in there. So these are our 5 different tiles, and then we're going to have some more in one of the expansions in the second video. Alright, so that is what we have for Thunder Road Vendetta. This is the base game. So, again, check out the second video if you want to see all the different expansions, which are going to add the 2 new types of vehicles, the big rigs and the motorcycles, add more tile spots with new hazards, all that. But if you're just interested in the base game, this is what it's going to contain. We'll also go over, by the end of that video, we'll show off all the, how the stuff fits into the box and all that stuff. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.